Sure. You ready?
Ready when you guys are, I suppose.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to Tavern Talk episode. We have lost count long time ago and stopped caring about it. Where we just sit down, chill, call up a friend, and talk games, talk shop. With me, I got my co-host Dark Microtransaction, and today we got DS Lily. Welcome in. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, am I on the microphone? Because sometimes it's my webcam mic.
You
Is it
sound
good?
fine.
Alright.
You sound fine to me.
Okay, cool. All right, that works.
Brilliant. I heard you dropped the mirror.
I did.
How
And then
long
as
was
my
it?
reward, like, 10 plus years and 10K plus hours. I don't know exactly how many hours. I just go by how long I've streamed.
How
You don't play off stream at all?
I mean, I originally did, but now if I play, I might as well. I'm like, okay, I'll turn on stream.
Fair enough.
how rare are mirrors
I-
actually? Are they actually like crazy? I know they're supposed to be like the rarest item, right? But how many PoE streamers get mirrors over their entire career?
Probably
So-
like 90%, but
I don't know about
takes
that.
a while. Oh, except for GHAZZY.
I mean, yeah. Like I actually do play off stream, mostly crafting though, but I actually sent a message to Chris Wilson about this. So I was kind of annoyed that I didn't draw a mirror. So I was like, yo, is my account bugged? And he said, and I quote, it's thousands of years of play per mirrors or something. Very few people get one, a tiny fraction of 1%, is what he wrote.
Holy!
I played over 10 years, still nothing.
I didn't realize it was like actually that rare.
Yeah. I mean, I guess most people get them through div card gambas or mirror shard and stuff like that as well, but it's not
If
that
you
many.
played an
that's
affliction, I think you're like guaranteed one if you grinded out this tier 7 cemetery grind. I think it's basically guaranteed if you sat there the whole league.
Yeah, I thought about that, and when I realized that I don't want my first mirror to drop that way, I stopped doing that immediately. I
Yeah.
thought that was cheating.
I said that like 2 minutes after I dropped the mirror. I'm like, I'm just glad that was an affliction league.
Yeah. No, it actually counts.
Can you get them fairly consistently through boats? I keep seeing clips of people getting one in a boat.
Isn't it like-
Shards, yeah.
yeah, the shards, but I saw them coming from like 50 million shipments. And I feel like
I did a 50 million shipment today. I got 3 shards.
Oh, really?
3? Holy!
And actually, I just did a 30 million shipment, but I opened it on my low level character by accident, so I only got 5 div.
Yeah, I still haven't got a mirror shard from it, but I don't want to save up to do a 50 million shipment, but maybe I should do that.
Wait, hold on.
It's better now.
I got a question about the mechanic because I haven't been doing the shipments really. You said you opened down the wrong character, so you only got 5 div. So does it register what the drops are upon the person opening it, not upon the shipment
It
returning?
apparently scales to your character level. Now, to be fair, I'm not actually sure if that works with currency, but I know for like items, item level would be lower.
I mean, there's a item level break point to drop mirrors, right? It's 35, I think. Or is it divines? Might be
I think
be
you can
divines.
drop a
actually.
mirror in Act 1.
Yeah, then it might be divines that is capped on a certain
Yeah,
level.
I think it's divines.
But then again, if that does the item level scale from that as well? Like of actual items? So like if you drop open it up on a level 20 character, you wouldn't get items that requires level 30.
Right.
Because if that's the case, then that could be a very cool strategy. 'Cause
Isn't that how
there
people are
is
getting
a-
headhunters this league?
well, there is a strategy that some of my traders are using, and that is that they level their trading character on that alt account to, I think it's level 35, so that when they get double corrupted specific div cards, they hand them in on that character, so that they have a higher probability of dropping specific corruptions on specific items that they can't get otherwise, or have a lower probability of getting otherwise, rather. So if that's the case, you could probably get to level 43 for hit mage buds. Just open.
Is that your
iron
guys'
shipments and that.
is that your favorite part of the mechanic of the 3.25? For me, it's been the currency exchange, for instance. But what's your favorite part of the new league?
Start with you, Lily.
I don't. I have a big soft spot for city builders, so I just like setting it all up. Now I'm. Now it's. I mean, now that it's on maintenance mode, I don't like how gold kind of dictates the strat you do because there's several strats I want to do, but I can't. Or well, I could, but I get like no gold. Like when I was farming Legion, I got like no gold, and then blighted maps give no gold.
Yeah, the same thing with Delve. Like Delve doesn't generate much at all, so that's the reason why all of the fossils and recon. Oh, sorry, the resonators are so goddamn expensive to craft with. No one farms it. I agree with you on the maintenance part, though. It was really fun. I'm also a soft spot for the whole city building thing. I love that approach to it. It was really fun. And then once you were done with everything, it's like, unless you're doing something that generates gold, you can't utilize the map runners because they're so expensive.
Do you find that the gold part of it and the maintenance part of it kind of turns off your enjoyment of that aspect? Or are you still enjoying the league overall now that you've min-maxed everything?
I think it's definitely still enjoyable. It's just it's less so of not enjoying the lead mechanic and more so of I want to do these other mechanics, but I can't. Which wouldn't be a problem if the league mechanic wasn't so OP, but
Tier
kind of not
17s
really a
are
choice right
crazy.
now.
What I did with one of the cheerleader supports was to run one day of tier 17s, and we get a couple of billion gold, and then you can do whatever you want for a couple of days. But that means you have to like get that work done first, and that might be harder in hardcore. I take it.
Did you say
In
billion with a B?
a million with an
Okay.
M.
I was like, holy, like, what am I missing here? Like, I know I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. How am I missing billions?
I mean, you get like 50 to 100,000 gold easily from a set of pseudo juice tier 17, and same
No, that's
strats.
fine in hardcore.
Yeah.
I definitely, I mean, okay, so I keep wanting to do Ubers, but then I was like, okay, but I want to farm gold. So I sit in T17s and I end up dying and never doing Ubers.
That's fair.
Speaking
Of
of,
course, like, sorry.
nah, go on, finish your thought. I had a question.
Like in tier 17s, is like if you don't drop reality fragments, the tier 17s has to be obnoxiously juiced for them to be profitable to run. Otherwise, it's just better to sell them at this point, which is kind of meh. So now we're back and just sticking to tier 16s unless you really want to juice things up crazily.
So I was going to ask you because you mentioned dying. I watched your clip on the it's Reflect Physico that got you, right?
Yes.
So
it was like the. Oh, go on.
no, sorry. Let me go ahead.
Oh, it was just like that. I've been doing reflect maps with that character the entire time, but it was the perfect storm, because, dude, you can evade reflect damage, right? I think so.
Asking the
I'm
wrong
not sure, but
person.
I know you can mitigate it. Well, do you know, Gaz? Oh, I guess you don't. You play minion builds. You wouldn't know.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, the consensus is you can. So, I guess up until that point, I wasn't really shield charging into too many monsters, and then I hit 4 monsters. I had like an 80% chance to hit 2, of course. So I managed to hit all 4. I didn't evade any of it. 50% shock proliferated onto them from the previous pack I killed. And then I must have also crit on my shield charge, which would have been like 100%. And then it killed me. But I was doing every T17 map with like Reflect on it, because that stuff rolls like every single map, I feel like.
But I mean, if you can evade it, that means you're still on the entropic layers. So you must have hit enough enemies or been hit recently enough for the entropy not to reset. So if the consensus is that you can evade it, not only did you hit a perfect hit on it, you must also have just broken the entropy so that you actually would be hit by your own reflect hit.
Yep.
What's your guys' take on Reflect? Is it the type of situation? Because when I was starting to learn PoE, Detonate Dead felt like bullshit. I didn't really know what I'm doing, and suddenly I get one shot by something. I learn there's a boss with a billion HP, and I got Detonate Dead and blow up. And then they changed Detonate Dead, and it feels fine to me. Now, Reflect, I want to say, feels like the same type of bullshit where you just get one shot or you're immune to something. But do you? When I brought this up previously, people said, well, you need Reflect in order to be able to brick certain maps against other people and how it's the economy if they can buy and sell. What's your guys' take on Reflect? Do you think it's kind of a mechanic that is bullshit and either shouldn't exist in its current iteration, or it's fine and you just need to learn to build around it? How you feel about Reflect?
On one hand, I do understand like it's a currency sink, but on the other hand, it's kind of just lame.
One of the strategies people are running right now is like 8 mod corrupted maps, right? And unless you make your character able to run every single mod, like my current build, I can't do Ellie Reflects, and I can't do no region, or rather, I don't want to do no region maps. And if that wasn't in the game, then what's the point of looking at the map mods? Because most people, I would arguably, would prefer to run just Alk and Go. And strategy that I'm running is just get dropping the maps. I don't even roll them. I drop these corrupted 8 mods. And if I didn't have to check them, then it would feel kind of meh. What's the purpose of having mods if I'm going to be able to run everything anyways? Some mods should be making the map more scary if they're not going to add increased rarity, pack size, drop rates, quantity, and all those things.
I don't
There
think I
need
have
to be some things that are scarier than others, right?
the way I feel about it is I don't feel like I have a problem with some mods being scary and worse and the potential of killing my character. I feel like I don't like checkboxes where it's like reflect equals dead. Like it's not a matter of like there's no line in which you can go a certain amount. Although I guess your trickster might disprove this point in which you could do all of them. You know, you said you were doing them eventually until you got unlucky there. But it feels to me like, okay, are you reflect immune or can you run reflect? Yes or no. There's no like layer of, okay, well, I can deal with it up until this point, and now I hit this point on the spectrum that does too much reflect damage and I die. Like it doesn't feel like I'm playing around anything. It just feels like, okay, I'm reflect immune or I can run it yes or no, and that's kind of why it kind of feels like bullshit to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with GHAZZY with the having to read map mods. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to read it all in the game, but I think it's fine that it's like that. But I do think it's just kind of lame. That's like flicking a light switch, either it's on or off, and if you go into your map, you're instantly dead. Is kind of lame. I'd rather it be something that's like super dangerous, like how some of the T17 map mods, which I never run in hardcore, but I kind of like the concept, like the volatile cores or whatever that just explode you. Like you're not really instantly dead from it. I mean, they'll kill you quick, but kind of play around
specters. Trust me, they kill your specters. And Forest Tiger's going for 11 dips right now. I don't know how many I've lost to that shit.
I mean, I don't actually know how much damage it does. I don't run that mod.
I mean, I've seen a core kill an enemy. Well, it was 3 cores. And it killed an enemy guardian with almost 175,000 life. It had over 1 million EHP in POB. He got killed by 3 of them. So I'm not doing it. It's so crazy. Yeah. But I do agree. Like I do like ripping map mods. But I mean, there's plenty of those already. Like I mean, for builds they use as a golem or minion builds in general. If you're not immune to chain projectiles and you do a multi-proj chain, shit's gonna hurt, especially with harbingers in there with the multi-proj hit from the ball lightnings, right? Like that's gonna be very painful if you don't pay attention. But like that's one thing, right? But I do see a point where the idea of reflect being, hey, you go in, now you're dead. But there are other brick builders, build bricks, bricking modifiers like no region, unless you have a way to counter that. I mean, there are melee builds, they use their leech and whatnot. Either that or you just have to start equipping a mana flask, and there's no way I'm going to use a mana flask to run a map. I'd rather scrap it. But I think that the current sync and forcing people to actually be aware of the map mods is kind of important for the gameplay. That's kind of my take.
How you feel about gold? I know we talked about you need it in order to perpetuate your town building. But how about gold as a base mechanic in the game itself as a currency you can continue to acquire and use for like the gambas? The black market gambas for me were super fun. I don't know how amazing they are late game, but early game they feel like really nice actually.
I think gold's good. I think it fits pretty well into the game actually. Like, my problem with gold is that it's probably too powerful right now, so if you're not getting it, it feels bad. But if it was like an actual choice to go, hey, I'm gonna farm a map that's really good at with some mechanic that's really good at generating gold, is an actual choice as opposed to something that's just gonna like be completely bonkers OP. If you're not doing it, you're missing out on basically a mirror every 2 weeks or something.
You know, I think that during the current league where the gold is so important to keep your town running, especially with the average cost of your map runners, is forcing people into farming it. And unless you're a player that blasts through tier 17s, you're gonna have to sit and do quite a lot of tier 16s to maintain it. I mean, we're talking 50,000, 60, 70,000 gold an hour. And then if you're not a blaster, you're running tier 16s, you get maybe 20, 25,000 in a pretty juiced up tier 16 map. You don't get that much. You have to run several maps an hour just to sustain, and that's not giving you extra gold. But I think that if this goes core and we keep this after the league's over, we don't have that maintenance cost, and gold's only for potential gold gamba and Faustus currency exchange. I'm not sure about how easy it would be for them to balance, because I mean, if it turns out that the gold gamba is really strong, now suddenly we're back in the idea that if you want to utilize this, you're gonna have to do whatever is the best way to make gold again. It's a bit of a balance question, I guess.
You think it's going core?
Gold, I definitely think they're gonna make Chelsea core. I have my opinions on it, but it seems to me that the community is really enjoying. Like, even if you pay a premium for this stuff, it seems like people want it.
How quickly
There's no way it doesn't go core.
Yeah, I agree. How quickly I found myself enjoying the currency exchange system was like immediate. I felt like it immediately made me love the game way more. My favorite mode's probably hardcore trade out of all the modes. But just being able to be like, okay, I need to split a divine into whatever. I need chaos, and then I need to take the chaos and buy the other ones, and not having to go through like 50 million different little trade instances, it immediately made me enjoy trade way more.
I find myself very rarely using it. I don't like paying a premium.
I don't
use it
mind.
either, but for a different reason, because nobody lists anything in hardcore on it.
Ah. That feels bad.
Some things you do, but you literally pay like a 30C premium on top of the gold too. I don't know how bad that is in softcore and how much more you pay, but
depends upon the item.
Last I checked, yeah, I mean, last I checked, like fracturing orbs were selling for like 6 divs on the market, but if you went to the currency exchange, they would go. You would be able to buy to sell it for 5 divs. I mean, it's quite big, so you do pay a pretty excessive premium for the quick trades. But I mean, it's the same thing with flipping. I've talked about this in the past. You can, I don't remember if it's chaos or divines from the trade, which is quite easy to just buy in bulks now with the whole control right click the entire inventory, and then you just buy one of the types in the trade, and then you go sell them again on the currency exchange.
This is exactly how I made all my money at the start. I was buying alteration orbs and then selling them for twice what I just paid for them for like the first entire week, and that's how I made all of my. It's pretty much how I made all my currency. That and then the Elder Chimbers.
So there's that. You can also do one of your trades on the PoE site and then sell those on the trade, and you make a ton of money that way as well, because the rates of like divine versus chaos is completely different on the two platforms. Well, like my opinion, I made a video on this not long ago. I said that they should drastically lower the gold cost involved for trading, and then I want them to completely disable the currency trade on the websites. I think that would be the best play to do it. I think that would be amazing. But it's my most downvoted video of the league, so apparently I don't agree with it. What do you think about that, Lily? Disable the currency exchange trade on the websites? Force people into the Faustus instead?
I don't know. I wonder how much. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know how different is the economy this league with the auction house. Is it like similar or is it just too different overall to really say how much it affected it? 'Cause something a lot of people for a while were like, or some people who are against an auction house were like, oh, it's gonna make prices go out of control because of bots or whatever, blah blah blah. If you remove the gold cost, that would open the floodgates even more. But I guess softcore is full of bots too, anyways, isn't it? With
Yeah.
currency, if you like list something wrong, you get like 40 bot whispers or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, people seem to not understand how insane bots are. So when they think that gold cost is going to prevent bots from existing, I usually go on a rant and explain that there are bots in the game that farms for you. There are bots that trades for you, snipes for you, flips for you. And here's the crazy one: there are bots that will profit craft for you. So now you can have a bot that is, don't do this, by the way, it's against TOS, folks, just so you guys know. But you can have a bot that is flipping for you at the same time as it's profit crafting. It's just you can't compete with it. They do get banned, but for the time that they do exist, it does impact the market. So yeah, of course, the fastest market is getting bots activity for sure.
I feel like it's kind of hard to tell if it's the currency exchange affecting the market when we have shipments happening, and shipments are a pretty big, currency dump. So I maybe the economy is different, but I don't know how I would dissect what percentage of the economy is different because of the trade as opposed to because of the league mechanics.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's kind of hard to tell with the league being overall different from other leagues and having more passive currency income as well, I guess opposed to ever.
I kind of dig that though. Like, there's so many people that are like at work or they're home. They're just doing their shipments, and then they're checking in on the half an hour later to do the shipment again. There's way more people today or in this league that's literally AFK just to do the boat check every now and then. So when you're buying something on trade, it's like most of the people are sitting there AFK waiting for the shipments, which is kind of fun.
I feel about map runners. Seems like everyone talks about shipments and boats, but you never really see people getting or posting like juicy clips from map runners or anything like that. You guys have any good payouts from those yet this league?
Couple of divs. That's it.
I just used it for elder fragments because running those
Oh,
is really annoying.
smart.
Fair. That's
Saw a
actually
few
not
people
bad.
get like mirrors from it though. Even a few in my guild chat.
Jesus. At best I got is a div here and there and a Voldo, I think. No, I got a Voidborn key from one, I think. Yeah.
I feel
It
like
costs so much per hour.
executing your runner kind of feels bad. You'd be like, oh, he died. Or the guy will randomly decide to start the new life when you're out with your boat shipment. It's like he'd start the new life host where it's like, do we really need the guys to randomly run away on us? I don't it doesn't really change a whole lot, right? It's not really like a major sink, you just reroll and get another one.
Yeah, it's just
You know what
annoying.
happened to me like 10 times is I would fill up like all 36 map slots and all the map devices, and then I'd log off for the day, and then I'd log back in, and they've all done one map because the boss like invaded them, Susan or whatever its name is, and just stopped mapping.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Same thing if one mapper dies, they stop running that device as well, right?
Yep.
Because it changes the percentage chance for them to complete the rest of the maps. I mean, it makes sense because I mean that means they have a higher risk of dying moving forward. I wish there was a way to just disable that. Just keep running. I don't care if you guys die.
Or have a backlog of them that fills the slot, maybe.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, I guess it was their way to create a gold sink, so you wouldn't. Also, you would actually have more of a purpose to have backup units, or just a gold sink in general. But I also think that the gold cost is so high, so unless you're a blaster or streamers like us, I feel like a lot of casual players don't really have gold to maintain the map devices and shipments, and then have gold to do trades as well. Because I don't think that most people run tier 17s. I might be wrong, but I'm confident that most of the active players are doing tier 16s. The active ones, that is.
For sure. I only have like 60,000 gold right now. I was farming with RF, and I would use it and pretty much immediately dump it all out, and then I have to go back and farm more gold. I agree that gold farming at the end of it, when you have pretty much all your stuff built, doesn't really. It's not an enjoyable part because I think the best take was where you want to do other mechanics. That's what Lily was saying. It's like you want to engage with the other mechanics, but you're stuck there farming gold. It's like I want to learn all these other mechanics. I'm still new at the game. I don't understand the game very well. So I want to go like do delve or I want to do these other things. But then if I do that, I have no gold. When I have no gold, then I'm not getting my passive income, and I feel like I'm being stupid as opposed to having this extra passive farm. I just feel like I'm doing the wrong thing, and I should be farming more gold. So maybe if there was like an equal, I know you kind of have to do the quantity, right, to get the gold, but if you could spread the gold out a little bit with the other mechanics, maybe I wouldn't feel so like I'm wasting my time by doing the other mechanics.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a problem of it just being too strong. Like, if it wasn't that strong, I don't want it to be bad, but if it was just an okay currency and you have to grind the gold, it's fine. But when it's so good that if you're not doing it, you're actually missing out on multiple divines per hour, it's kind of hard. Well, I think I think people would FOMO over it no matter what, no matter how good it is or not. But right now, it's like actual you are missing out if you're not doing it, as opposed to just the fear of missing out on something that's not that good. But right now, it is that good.
You know what I have FOMO over is I forgot to sign up for all the PoE 2 betas. And so I've gotten exactly 0 of those. And I think that started, what was it? It's supposed to be today or something. The next PoE beta was starting, right? So I think that's going on currently. I don't know if you guys had a chance to play any of the PoE 2 betas. I guess it's NDA, so even if you are, we can't really talk about it. But I missed all of those, but I'm very excited for PoE 2 coming up. So my little question I have wrote down here is, what class are you guys most excited for in PoE 2? It'd be Templar for me, but we haven't seen anything for Templar yet.
Just a witch summoner.
Of course. Why'd I even bother asking GHAZZY?
Well, the one I've enjoyed the most that I've already played is Huntress. But I think Merc with the guns will be cool too, so probably those two.
The AK-47 mercenary actually looked pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Looks sweet.
I like the whole loading of ammunition to your weapons. Pretty cool.
I'm hoping we get to see more info like soon about the other classes. I don't know whether or not all the classes are going to be in the November 15th release. I don't think they said, unless I missed it somewhere. But I think there's 4 classes we have yet to see information at all on, if I'm correct.
They showcased not this Gamescom, but the last one, right? They showcased the Druid. People got to play the Druid, and then we've never seen anything else about the Druid ever since.
Yeah, we've seen Witch, Druid, Monk. Obviously, we got to play the Monk. Mercenary, Sorceress, Huntress, Ranger, Warrior. So we're missing 4. There's supposed to be 12 classes, and we've seen 8 of them. I would assume those 8 are going to be the ones that are on the November 15th release, if I had to guess.
That's my understanding as well. I'm a little concerned with how they're going to tackle that, because they've clearly shown a full focus on the PoE 2. I know there's 2 teams, one for PoE 1 and one for 2. But I mean, with the beta coming out, or the early access rather, what's going to happen? Like, are they going to have the 3-month cycle? Well, sorry, 3-month cycle, which is actually 4 months. It was 2 years ago we had a 3-month thing. Like, if they're going to keep that going during the time that we are in early access, because I feel like that would be like the best time for them to get as much feedback as possible and put a lot of focus on progression of the game. I'm a little concerned about that, how they're going to balance that, because it feels like they are allocating maybe one too many resources into PoE 2 in general.
In terms of... Go on.
I don't know how they're going to do that. How long do you think because the next league would fall right on when the beta would be.
Yeah.
And they're obviously not going to release both.
Mm.
So how long did they prolong the PoE1 league? I'd guess it would release by Christmas.
I mean, I
'cause
hope they
can't
do
really
a
miss
Christmas.
that.
Nah, they 2 years ago, was it Cyberpunk? 3 years ago, where they
Cyberpunk?
delayed. Yeah, they delayed a December launch into January with the argument that Cyberpunk would eat too much of the player base. Was the official statements that has been made.
I mean, I guess they were
And
wrong about that one because on release wasn't that game dog shit?
Yep. So it's like that's the start of this sequence of them having 4-month leagues instead of 3-month leagues. They
Well-
keep saying 3-month leagues, but we haven't had a 3-month league in over 2 years.
Well, they can't release it early, right? Because if they release it right before the PoE2 beta, they're cutting the balls off their own PoE1 league. Like, everyone will go play the PoE2 early access if they launch the PoE1 before it. Now, if they launch it afterwards, then they can see how many people would quit PoE2 in terms of data in order to go back to the PoE1 league, and then they could get some information based upon, okay, how many people actually prefer playing PoE1 or how many people would stick with PoE2. But if they do the PoE1 launch first, I feel like the data for them isn't going to be as accurate to see how many people quit the PoE1 league to play PoE2. You see what I'm saying? Because everyone's going to want to try PoE2. It's the first time. But quitting the PoE2 right when it's hype to go back to PoE1 might actually give them some retention data.
It makes sense for them to launch in December for the Christmas times as well. They don't want to miss that. It's massive how big of a difference it is. I mean, we see it as streamers as well. Even subs and stuff like that during Christmas times is an all-time high, and then January, everyone's broke. February, people start recovering. March, we're back on track. And that's just the way it goes, right? It has been for many, many years. And that's not going to change. It's just the way, the world we live in. So they definitely don't want to have the release happening in January again. That's something I know for a fact. I talked to Chris about, and he said the same thing. It's like they don't want to have a launch in January if it can be avoided. They want that to be for the Christmas holidays. People are free. People can play. They have time. They have the money. All of those things plays huge factors into this. But we'll see. I think we're gonna get a PoE1 league in December, and since the early access is supposed to last for 6 months, I have no idea how they're going to allocate resources if we're going to see a PoE1 league last 6 months. I mean, is that what the scope we're looking at? Because that would be horrific, in my opinion.
Maybe Legacy League was like 6 months.
Is it?
I think so.
I mean, we had 6-month leagues at the start, but I mean, we're talking ambush league shit. Legacy lasted between 3rd of March 2017 and wow, ended 31st of July. Was it really that long?
5 months? That was pretty close.
Yeah.
That's almost 6.
Holy yeah, that's almost exactly 5 months. Early March till end of July. Good Lord. I don't even remember that. But that was, 8 years ago? 7 years ago.
Yeah. A while ago, before I streamed.
Holy shit, that you remember that?
I remember that league. I put all my money into this trash inspired learning Vol Fireball build, and I could barely clear maps, but I thought it was cool because I could finally pretend to have a headhunter like the big boys.
All right.
I finally got to try a
remember
headhunter for the first time ever this league. Man, the headhunter is actually fun as fuck. Like, just from a gameplay perspective, it is super fun to have a headhunter.
Back in the day, there was no size cap on Soul Eater, so you could make your character so big that you could only see the feet of your character.
Really? I gotta look this up. I missed that.
That's actually pretty cool. Speaking of overpowered stuff and the whole focus of PoE1, PoE2, something that I've been feeling a lot lately is how balance discussions in PoE1 feels like it's been thrown out the window. I was like, here, get the most overpowered toys ever, play with it, do whatever you want. And I guess the topic that I'm trying to get to is Svalen. How is that in hardcore, Lily?
I haven't used it yet, but I mean, it's obviously a super OP. I mean, you could just slap it on as a pretty good band-aid fix, but I mean, block in hardcore has been weird for a while. Like, power creep in general has made it a couple years ago, well, maybe more than a couple at this point, but you're kind of still scared of small hits. Now it's just all about max hits. Like before, you go like Witch or Necro, and you get a life on block shield, and you'd be like, wow, I'm immortal. But now that's not nearly enough. Now you'll die to something if you're not also covering your max hits. So I feel like it's kind of like that. I mean, it's obviously really good, but hardcore, you still have to defend or build up your other defense layers, or you're gonna eventually get hit and die.
Yeah. I feel like Svalid is just absolutely insane. And then whenever I talked about it to people, they all think it's gonna go core. And I mean, even if they make it tier 0 like Mage Blood Rare, it's still too strong. You slap it on, put an Inda, get some ward gear. Now you're immortal. You have your entropic evasion covering. Whenever that one hit goes through, it's unless you scale max block, there's a 12% chance that that hit that went through even does damage to you. And if it does, your ward will mitigate it. And then 2 seconds later, you have the defense again, during which time frame your entropy and your 88% block is going to cover for 2 seconds. It's just, I don't know. It's too much.
I definitely agree, though. I think at some point, I don't know exactly when it was. I guess it was. I feel like the biggest time was maybe around Toda with like Defiance of Destiny. I feel like at some point they just decided, all right, power creep's out of control here, and yeah, we'll fix it in PoE 2, and now PoE 1's just off the reins, going crazy. Which I mean, I feel like the game's still in like a good state, but it gets a little crazy kind of fast.
Yeah, but I mean, we've had a pretty good history of them always giving us some cool toys to play with every league, right? It's basically every new league, there's something really cool, really overpowered or broken, and they'll be like, here's the new toy, go play with it. And then everybody loves it, and everybody wants it to go core. It's like, it just keeps on going. At least Defiance of Destiny got a pretty heavy treatment of rarity increase, and what they cut the modifier for the defense modifier in like in half, 10 to 20% now, I think it is. And now is not nearly used as much. Still is, but not to that extent. So I don't know.
So you're talking about ward. Explain the ward mechanic. This is a mechanic that I've never interacted with yet.
So ward is like a secondary version of energy shield, except that when you, if you have 1,000 ward and you are taking a hit that does damage to you, and that damage deals 50 damage to you, your ward will remove all of that damage, and all of the ward goes away. And then it will take 2 seconds for that ward to come back to full again, which is just after 2 seconds you have full ward again, essentially. However, if you have 1,000 ward and you take a hit that deals damage to you, and that damage is dealing 2,000 damage, all your ward goes away, but the ward will remove the numerical value of damage based of its ward. So if you have 1,000 ward, you take 2,000 damage, you're now only taking 1,000 damage, and all your ward is gone, no matter how big the hit was. So that's why the whole evasion-based entropic defensive layer together with block is so ridiculous with ward, because you then evade every attack, then you take a hit that is actually going to hit you, and then you have the block blocking it. But if that goes through and it actually deals damage to you, now your ward is mitigating that damage, and then you just need to evade and block for the next 2 seconds to have that ward covering you again. That's why it's so broken.
Why do I not see people use ward so much in hardcore? Is it something that's very item reliant? Is it something that is not consistent? Like I never really see people talk or recommend about ward.
I think you probably just have to. I mean, some people definitely do, but So the problem I've seen with like ward builds, like, have you guys seen the thing Palstron uploaded with those Abyss boots? Or actually, I think they're Delirium, where in Olroth's Resolve, where you don't lose any ward and you like just have 15k perma ward and you're immune to every hit in the game. But
No.
if you get a really bad degen on you, I think you're just dead. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that's the weak point with those. If you get a really bad dot on you, you're dead.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a really popular ward tank approach for minion builds right now, which is using Inda's stand belt for the ward. Get a large chunk of ward, and then they have this whole evasion approach with Svalden for block capping, and basically becoming more or less immortal. And even with unique chest, I'm currently running a Doriani's prototype build, and even that, when I didn't run that much ward, I could go into tier 17. I could just stand there and I just don't die because Svalden is just so broken. It's insane.
So I just started. Working on Trickster. I've been the left side Andy. Been playing Juggernaut, Marauder, right? And that's about it the whole time. And I just started learning Trickster. I started the character I watched 3 of them on hardcore this season. I get part way through the campaign, get one shot, or I would get to maps and then die to some stupid thing. But I started using your build to try to learn Trickster, by the way, Lily. Do you have any... Since I had you on here, I wanted to ask you, do you have any tips for learning Trickster when it comes to me going into hardcore? I did watch your video, so maybe you have a 1 or 2 pro...
The Lightning Strike character?
Yeah.
So... Trickster's an ascendancy I don't touch until I have energy shield gear completely ready.
Okay.
Trickster's kind of like a really, really good, really good mid to high budget, like even low mid. But if you don't have your initial set of gear, you're super squishy. And Trickster doesn't get that much damage. It gets enough, but Trickster's pretty meh if you're not energy shield yet. I mean, it's fine, but I don't know. Pre-energy shield, it's really just you can't get hit by anything big. You're just not going to survive.
So you got to gear out. You'd probably recommend gearing out another starter when it goes to next league. You start with another starter and then you farm the gear you need and then swap over.
Pretty much. That's what I did with it. I had the whole set of gear pretty much ready, or at least the base set of gear. I mean, it's definitely... I mean, I leveled it with life for a while, but I don't think it's long-term viable. I think it's a matter of time till you die when you're not energy shield.
Okay. A matter of time for me was pretty short. Not gonna lie. It would be going good, and then suddenly it's not going good. I gave 1 hit out of nowhere.
Wait, so did you level it from scratch?
Yeah, so what I do is I never really use build guides. I just kind of okay, let me try this character, and I just try to figure it out. But I tried to, quote unquote, figure it out 3 times in a row, and it wasn't working, dude. I'd be going, and then suddenly, oh, nope, I ate a slam. It's all over. And so I realized, okay, so I actually have to learn how this character works and look at someone's guide. So I started looking at your guide just today. I'm leveling actually a character today based upon your Trickster guide to try to learn. So that's why I was like, okay, well, let me try to get some pro tips or something on this, because obviously I'm doing something wrong here, just trying to figure it out as I go.
Yeah, I think I have leveling trees for life, which is what I used, but I definitely was not, till I was level 84 and swapped over. I was definitely on the verge of death. If the wrong thing hit me, I was going to be dead. It was basically just kill things before they kill me. Okay. I think if you don't have gear and you want to play Trickster, I think starting Power Siphon, I don't know if you've looked at that build at all. I think that's probably your best bet. It's also squishy, but you'll have a lot more damage with no gear.
The only problem is then it's mines. I feel like the mine gameplay. So I did see the Power Siphon one. I looked at, I looked at Duo Strike, I looked at Power Siphon, and I looked at Lightning Strike. And I was okay, I want to try learning Chaos Inoculation. That looks cool. I haven't done any builds with that yet. So That's why I was messing around with the one that you posted. But the mines for me are hard to enjoy. Like I feel like I'm like throwing these little like donuts on the ground and people just gotta step on them or something. I don't know. Mines don't feel like for me. I like the melee style, and the lightning strike is kind of cool too. But it's hard for me to like mines. But if that's what I got to start
Yeah,
with,
they're definitely
swap over.
different. Although they're completely automatic. Just the thing with Power Siphon is you have to throw the mines like on the edge of your screen because if they're near you, they won't explode. That's the only thing. Other than that, it's automatic.
Sounds terrible.
You get used to it fast. When I first played, I'm like, okay, this is kind of troll, but I'm used to it now.
I mean, there are some really cool builds out there that does require a certain, learning the play style of it. Like I recently did cheerleader dominating blow champion summoner, and that's like using Bannerman notable. So you linger banner effect after you leave it, and just max scaling banners. And you have a bunch of war cries to get valor, and you place a banner, and you're moving at 250% movement speed, your spell suppression capped, and all that. And you run out of the banner, which is the size of your entire screen, and then you have to place a new one within the next 3 seconds after leaving it. Otherwise, your defenses goes down. But it's fun to play. But throwing mines at the edge of your screen, like I don't play the game with my mouse confined to the game window. I don't know
Okay,
if
it
I would
doesn't
play
have to be the edge. It just can't be near your character, like halfway from your character in the edge of the screen.
Okay.
I don't play them
do
with
like Power
confined
Siphon,
either.
though.
Because I like to. My problem is I die to me playing RuneScape. I'll play RuneScape on the second monitor, and then I'm trying to play a hardcore normally on the main one. And I'll be like, all right, I'm good for like 2 seconds. I can click on the tree or whatever. So I look at the second monitor, I'll look back, it's like, oh, I'm surrounded. There goes another one. Like,
You do that in hardcore?
look, I want to play RuneScape. I mean, I got a lot of shit to do. I'm fucking behind. I'm years behind because I don't ever actually take the time to put the effort into the game. So I got to get it in when I can get it in. Apparently it's a mistake.
Literally, did you play RuneScape as well?
I play whenever they release their leagues,
Oh.
like once every 2 years. But
Here was hoping you'd be a Tibia player.
no, although I've been playing Raven Dawn, but
Yeah.
That game was actually
Actually-
fun.
yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty different than what Tibia actually is, though. It's just the camera angle, right?
Yeah. It's definitely very different. Fun though.
I feel like the camera angle throws a lot of people off with Raven Dawn. Like I saw you're playing Tibia, and I've watched a bit of Tibia before. I never actually played Tibia, but the camera angle of Tibia seems more dead on. As Raven Dawn's like pretty, it feels like it's pretty tilted. Like I'm just a little too drunk while playing that game. You know, it's like.
It kind of sums it up pretty well, actually.
Fun game though. You guys play side games while playing PoE, or you pretty much only focus on PoE?
Not when I'm streaming. When I'm not streaming, I'm always on either crafting or just on for trades. Then I play other games like the TD game I showed you earlier.
I've been playing Deadlock. That game owns.
That game
Yeah?
is fire. Actually, I was streaming a bit of that last night. Deadlock. Okay, what character you like in Deadlock? What's your main?
Okay, I've been trying to play a different character every match to learn everybody, but top 3 so far is probably Bebop, the robot with the hooks. The ice guys. I think before like the patch recently is kind of trash. I think I never saw anyone do good, but after a patch a couple days ago, I played him and I was just like flying around the air owning everybody. It was kind of OP, and I just freeze them and they can't do anything. So those are probably my top 2, and then number 3 would be, I don't know, one of the DPS characters. Honestly, I like all the characters in that game.
I feel like
I never
7.
actually got to play it. Sorry.
No, go on, guys.
No, I just never played it. So, like, you guys give me like a TLDR, like, because I've only seen some clips, and it seems to me
yeah,
like
it's
it's
third-person Dota, pretty much.
Bingo.
Very, very close.
Yeah, probably closer to Dota
what is
than
that
League,
other
you'd say, right?
third-person Nova? Not Heroes of the Storm. Smite.
Smite.
Is it like that?
That game sucks.
I never played it, but is it
Nice.
similar? Because that's like third-person Dota, right?
It's more like League of Legends, where it's just the inferior MOBA.
Yeah, it's like it's more first person shootery. I mean, Smite didn't feel as much first person shooter as MOBA to me, but Deadlock feels like it's like 60% first person shooter, 40% MOBA. At least that's how I feel about it. Maybe the 60-40 is the other way, but it's pretty split. Like you actually have to be able to aim and stuff. It's Smite's kind of like giant fucking AoEs all the time. At least that's how I felt playing Smite.
I haven't played Smite in like literally probably 10 years. It was just weird. I don't know.
I never tried it. Like I'm similar to you, Lily. Like Dota is just, it's a whole different world. There's no MOBA that beats it. So I'm
See,
sorry.
I'm on the other side though. I don't think League's better, but I played League instead. So I played that game for like 10 years. I played it entirely too much. And then everyone always told me Dota was better. So I tried a couple matches of Dota, and I can see why people have that argument, but I hadn't got into it enough to like understand the significant difference between.
I think that in the PoE streamer community, I think there's only two of us that have played Dota professionally or gotten paid to play. Rather, it's me and Karn. I think that's played it, and it's like Dota and League is a good game, but it's just very different things that like more skill shots and stuff like that. Whereas there are other depths of difficulty in Dota specifically. But I think that the biggest problem with MOBAs, if you want to play it and you want to do well, you have to learn like you're doing, Lily, with Deadlock. Need to literally have a full understanding of every single hero, their power spikes, every single item in the game, and then also understand the flow of the meta of the gameplay. And you take all of that knowledge and all that experience, something you play for a long time, and say, hey, I'm going to try that other MOBA game. Now you're a complete noob and have to relearn all of that. I'm like, nah, hell no. I'm going to go back to Dota and just stick there. I'm going to stay there. That's how I feel about it.
I was originally a League player. I played League for like over a decade, and I didn't really like the direction it went. I don't really think it's a bad game right now. I just don't like the direction it went. And when I first tried Dota 2, when it first came out, it was way slower than it is now, and I just couldn't play it. But my take is that Dota is the PoE of MOBAs, and League is like Diablo. Like I'm not like it's not bad, but it's definitely way simpler. It's a lot easier to learn.
That's pretty harsh.
What?
No, I mean I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying pretty harsh.
That's not harsh. I think that's I mean that's fair.
It's
I'm kind of
probably
surprised
accurate.
or impressed that you actually played both games. Because I could never bring myself. I tried League several times, but I just couldn't get into it because I got annoyed that I would have to relearn the entire directory of the game to play it effectively. And I didn't like that approach.
Well, it's like Dota's more complicated than League, right? I mean, you can't deny minions in League. There isn't shops in lane in League. There's no runners in League. Like, it's probably an accurate
Dota's
assessment.
is more complicated in almost every single way. Even like people say League's the mechanical one, but in Dota you can control like 6 people at once, which is way crazier than anything in League. And then I'm not good at Dota by any means, but from what I can tell, your build's a lot more fluid, and you actually have to adjust way more than you do in League. Like in League, maybe your build changes like 2 items in a game. I feel like in Dota, your whole build can change based on what the match is.
Or some seasons, you can just have 3 black cleavers or 6 sunfire capes as your main
Okay, that can
build.
happen in Dota too, as far as I know, but depending on the meta.
Like I play support heroes in position 4 and 5, always have been, and it's completely depending. Like even the starter items would completely depend on, your own team, the own team composition. Like it all matters so much. I think that's pretty cool.
Even the team composition in League is very cookie cutter compared to like Riot. Really, I don't know these days, but they really try to make like the ADCs only go bottom. Whenever
Yeah.
there's a meta where it gets swapped up, they'll fix it. Dota, you kind of just uh, like, I mean, your hero can have different positions. I mean, that kind of is a thing in League too, but like, if League has an equivalent of a position 1, which would be like ADC, they're always going to be position 1 9 times out of 10. Now there is times where you can kind of flex those picks, but it's definitely way less than Dota has.
I remember, I think it was 13 years ago, we played in a series called A Series with my Dota team back then, and one of the compositions we had a healing strat like Witch Doctor and IO back then. And what we would do was if the enemy sent Invoker mid, then I would go as position 5 in a mid lane till I hit level 6. And then we would just swap the entire game around with the IS ulti, which was such an insane strategy. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I don't think you see that in League at all, where you have that kind of fluidity of the roles or lanes that you go to, right?
Yeah, League doesn't really have like true hard counters. At least when I played, maybe now there's more of one, but I have no idea. But the worst like hard counters when I played was like you're going a person that's only melee and you go against the ranged guy and you're screwed. And that's like the extent of hard counters. Maybe there's a few things that were more of a counter, like when silences were a thing, playing a silence against the guy who spammed a million abilities or something, but not really as much of a thing. Less stuff to think about, and you just play the game.
So I like that you use the comparison of PoE and Diablo 4 for League and Dota because it's a lovely segue into the next and final topic here. Diablo 4 PTR starts tomorrow, and they are basically reworking the game again. For the people that don't know, they're dropping the level cap down to 60. They're adding a lot more features related that are very similar to Diablo 3. Have you seen the changes at all, Lily? How you feel about it?
I've seen some of them. Like I watched their last campfire thing, and then once they started talking about like individual balance, I clicked off because I don't really care about that.
Yep.
But it looked like overall good changes to me, but it did seem like they're just putting D3 into D4 a lot.
Yep.
I mean, I said D4 should have launched as D3 Resurrected and then go from there. But, you know.
My conspiracy theory is they were originally going to launch it, like in the version that's now the rework, was the original implementation of the game, but then they were like, I don't want to get roasted as releasing it as D3 2.0. So instead they...
Did you see the cup?
Oh, I saw the cup. It's a based cup. I agree, but you know, here it's 2024.
How could you not react to it?
Is what you want me to do?
It was so good. Sorry, I cut you off.
I actually don't think the game's bad now, but
yeah, it's mid.
It's a meme that's never gonna go away.
It will never go away. They got shit on in terms of the meme's too strong, dude. It's like Sleepy Joe level of meme. Like you're just, what are you gonna do? That shit is branded.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, how could you not react to it so perfect?
Dude, I listen to D4 bad music all the time. I actually think the D4 bad music is some of... I was listening to my car the other day. It's like this. Some of the songs are actually good enough that they're like beyond the meme. I don't know if you ever go to the D4 bad radio. Some of that shit is actually banging. Like the power metal one is unbelievably good.
That's true. That's very true. I think like I talked about this before as well, before the podcast, right? I feel like season 4 was the first season they have where the game was like, this is actually how it should have been on launch. Then season 5 was the first season they launched that was like, this is the first season after the game has launched the way it should have been. And it was pretty good. I think season 5 was the best season they've ever had. The problem was PoE released the best league they've ever had, in my opinion, at the same time. So there's that. But I think that the changes are very interesting. Like you said, it feels like they just finally took all of the learnings in D3 and just shoved it in. into D4, like basically put a D4 template on D3, and I'm kind of interested to see how it's gonna pan out. But at least it feels like they're heading in a good direction with the changes.
Good direction because the direction is backwards, which is closer to D2. You got to go through D3 to get to D2. So they're going to make D4 into D3, and then they'll go D3 into D2, and then we're fucking back, baby.
Jesus. Yeah. I don't know. I think that the biggest problem I have with D4 is, I don't know if this is true, but it seems to me that after all of the staff fiasco they had over the years has resulted in new hires, and you have developers or software developers that are now going to develop something that was half done and then finish that project, and that's just resulting in this fiasco of bugs after bugs after bugs, and then they're just adding new content, but half the game is bugged. The entire necromancer class is scaled and defined by bugs, and I mean, it is. I mean, you go CDR stack and abhor and decrepify. That's what you do, but that's bugged. So, but if they fix that, the class is dead.
Bugs.
I mean, if they fix it, the class is dead. And they've had several situations of this. Like the Bone Spirit Splinters. They were like, oh, they nerfed it. No, they buffed it. Sorry, they buffed it. And then they were like, oh, we're going to fix this bug. And when they fixed it, that shit just went overpowered. So now they got to nerf it. Because they balance things based off the bugs instead of fixing the bugs. It's like you have an infection on your arm, and instead of like fixing the actual disease or the infection, you just put a band-aid around it. It's like, yeah, that's doesn't look bad now, but it's horrifically designed. That's kind of how it feels.
That was
right
something that surprised me. Last season 4 of D4 was the first season I had played since like season 1 or 0. I really enjoyed the game actually. Like I played for an entire week, and I was surprised how buggy it was. I had probably over 20 crashes in that week, and a bunch of stuff was broken, and it was kind of wild. I don't know if I was just unlucky, but it was kind of wild.
Season 4 was very interesting with the bugs as well. That's when they had the Holy Bolt elixir, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Yes.
At least. So everyone was saying how strong minion summoners were, or necromancers were so good with summoners, and it was entirely credited to the elixir of Holy Bolt interaction. And guess what happened when they fixed it? Summoners were just bucket to the F tier class.
Yeah, I loved it.
Just stop playing it.
Everyone was hyped for minions, and it's like, minions are fucking here, baby. And then season 5, everyone's like, minions are dog.
And then they're like, oh, but it's such a strong class. I'm like, no, it was a bug. Come on. It's consistent. I'm upset about it because I feel like D4 is actually becoming a good game now. But it's just there's so many bugs they need to fix that before they introduce new content. But that's not what attracts new players, I guess. I don't know. Just frustrating.
Do you have any takes on, not so much a take about it, but why do you think they just don't do leaderboards now?
They have leaderboards
in terms of levels?
Like in terms of pit level or whatever, or did they add that?
Oh,
well, they have leaderboards on the gauntlet.
Well, they have like
right?
for the gauntlet.
which I think is because you could look at a gauntlet and know why, which is that the top people in the gauntlet right now, it's rarely bugged. So people would have an insane amount of points because the fucking Lilith favor shit's bugged, and if you go into it without like canceling out your shrine or whatever the fuck, there's some min-max stupid strat that just completely ruined the leaderboard, and all the top people have like way more than anybody else. So the leaderboard would basically be a giant announcement to the world: we can't fix the bugs. So they probably just don't put it in there because the top ones will always be bug related.
That kind of
I guess that's true.
That's how it feels, at least. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's going to be a leaderboards coming with the pit changes. That would be surprised. I would be surprised if there wasn't like a timed race for that leaderboard. But it's going to be the same problem that they have with the gauntlet. It's heavily abused with bugs, and that just goes back to this whole topic that half the game has bugs. Most skills are bugged, and like they got to fix that before they balance things, because now they're making balance changes, and the balance changes are always very weird. Like back in the beta, we had the level 25 Act 1 beta. Everyone said minions were overpowered. And so they just pulled a number out of their asses and nerfed their survivability and damage. Like, oh, and people were like, oh, look, Blizzard is listening to the community. It's amazing. Look at this. Praise them, yada, yada. And then next week, beta, level 20 beta came out, and minions couldn't even survive. They just got one tapped all the time. It was completely unplayable. Reddit was on fire. Well, Reddit is always on fire, but more so this time. You know, and you get these D4 devs sitting there. This is fine. You know, but if they had the developer spend 15 minutes playing it, they would have realized that they nerfed it too much. And guess what they did? Well, they buffed them again. And the entire community, instead of being like, this was a bad thing that they did it this way, instead they go, oh, look, Blizzard is listening to the community. Praise them. What the fuck is happening? And then they've had that approach ever since, where changes don't feel like they're accurate. It feels like they're just randomly taken out of their asses, which is really scary to me. Because they showed that they were going to do that in beta, and they have shown that they're continuing on that path ever since. They're not tested. Like, this stuff is not tested. And I just feel like it's just weird.
You know what game feels very similar to that? I feel like people don't talk about nearly as much. I feel like this game has some kind of protective veil upon it. Last Epoch is also completely balanced by bugs. I feel whenever I criticize that game, I feel like there's even more people that get mad over
100%
when I say something about D4. Like, it's crazy.
It's true. It's because everyone likes it. It's like me. Like, I don't want to even go out there and flame the game because I like the dudes making. They're all friendly people, and the devs interact with anybody, and it's like a small company or whatever, right? And a reasonable price, and they have offline mode and all this stuff. It seems consumer friendly, so you want to like not flame them. But I can't play the game more than like 3 days. Every league, I know I should sit there and like, okay, the first month it's hype or whatever, I should be doing it. But like, I get bored almost immediately as soon as I get to monoliths. It's not even for me like the bugs, because I don't know, I just figure shit out as I go. If I run into a bug, who knows? I'm not looking at min-max anything. I just get bored. I just get to monoliths. I do a few monoliths, and I'm like, I can't log into this. Like, I don't hate it. I have a lack of any feeling when I play the game in-game.
I get the same amount of enjoyment from Last Epoch as I do from D4, between 1 and 2 weeks, and I'm happy with that. I feel like Last Epoch needs, similar to what Torchlight needed, they need about a year's worth of content before it gets really good. And I think Torchlight was really good now. And they started off on a bit of a progressional journey, and now they have a really good bulk of content. And I think that's what's lacking in Last Epoch, like actual quantity of actual content. The roadmap, I guess you guys have seen it. It's actually looking pretty interesting. But that's how I feel about it. I'm also more lenient on how harshly I criticize a game company when I compare the criticism I would give Last Epoch and the way the size of their team and how they develop it compared to multi-billion-dollar Blizzard. You know, I'm a little harsher towards that size of company, the amount of money they put into the game. You know,
that's fair enough. Plus, they don't have a legacy to live up to, so it's not like it's Last Epoch 4. You know, and people play that kind of help define a genre, I suppose, so it has a less weight behind it. Like, you can make sort of a mid-game with a mid-price, and people will be like, it's all right. But if you kind of have the wave of the world behind you, you can't deliver a dog shit product, people will get mad. But I actually agree. I do feel the same way, which is the game is all right, and it probably needs quite a bit of cooking still.
It's a good take, though. I actually really like the Last Epoch new bosses that they have with the Harbingers. I think that was a really cool way to do it. But they're doing the same progression Torchlight did, right? They have a new cycle, league, season, whatever the fuck people call it. Can't they all just agree on one word and stick to it?
I know.
Jesus Christ. I think it's
okay, what would be the word? If we had to pick one. Season, cycles, league, what's your word of choosing?
I mean, in the ARPG world, I would say leagues, but I guess we're also biased towards PoE. What was the first one that really put a light to this in the ARPG world? I guess it would be ladders in season, which was, I think, seasons in Diablo 2, right?
Oh, it's ladders in D2, if that's the question, yeah.
So it was a ladder reset. That was called ladder. God, it's another word. I don't know. I think that in today's day and age, we would have to all revert into calling it ladder, or it would be leagues, I guess.
I'm fine with season or leagues, but when
Yeah.
random companies start just thinking of random words for their season, like cycle or does Torchlight have their own? What is Torchlight's? It's something slightly
I
different, I think.
It's
But
season, isn't it? Or am I?
I think it's season actually.
I
Yeah.
think it's season, but they use some abbreviation for it.
Yeah,
They
that
have
was a
like
game.
weird numbers as well.
That was a game that surprised me how much I liked that one. Like, I never really played Infinite, and then I had a sponsor for it, so I'm like, all right, I'll try it, 2 hours, whatever. So I go to play it, because it's one that people kept asking me about. And I was like, oh, this shit's actually, like, pretty banging. And so I played it for, like, 8 or something. Like, I just kind of kept playing it. It was a lot more in-depth than I thought it was. And it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Torchlight's actually really good. I think it's kind of unlucky that they didn't go for the typical dark fantasy setting. I think the game would have like exploded if they did that. I think a lot of people just don't play it because of how it looks.
Yeah.
I think maybe most softcore players in PoE, it's like the perfect game for them.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. I also was really anti trying it because of the graphics and how it looked and the atmosphere it set. But after trying it, it's a great game. It's a very, very lean back, I'm just gonna blast kind of game, and I think that's really fun to do. And everything is in game. You don't like even a guide. If you want to look up what someone else is doing, you can do everything in game. You never have to go out to a third party site. And that's one thing the gripe I have with PoE is like, I think I'm on 7 or 8 third party tools I'm using right now, and there's like 50 more. And every time I play, someone's gonna be like, "Oh, why don't you use this, that, or this?" I'm like, because I have this many. I don't want to add to it. I don't care if it's gonna improve my experience. I have too many.
That's the issue I had on Star PoE. I was in PoE about 15 minutes. I started in Total League. And then I had like a list that is this long of like, hey, why aren't you using Path of Building? It's like, I don't even know what the fuck that is, first of all. And then people are like, okay, well, now you need to go to the trade website to trade. It's like, okay, there's another thing I need to do. All right, have you use this one or this one. And now you got to do a build guide. I was like, holy moly, boys, just let me play the game. I haven't killed Hillock yet. And people are already telling me like there's these 25 things I need to do or else I suck at the game. It's like, yeah, I probably do. Like, I'm trying to learn what a fucking skill gem is. Like, give me a second.
That kind of sums.
You know what Torchlight has that I really want GGG to do, but I don't think would happen? So everybody talks about death recaps and whatever. I feel like that's one of the bigger crying points right now for people. When I don't think it'd be that helpful, honestly, for most people. But what Torchlight has is they have a replay system, and it doesn't like actually record the gameplay, so it's not like taking up a ton of file size or anything. But Valve's Source Engine also has this. It like records the inputs you make and then essentially replays the game as you watch it. And Torchlight has that now. I think that'd be really good if GGG implemented that.
I don't mind. Like I think Last Epoch has the notes that's telling you which monster and what kind of damage it dealt that killed you. And I think that just that is enough for people to be like, okay, well, if you go into a map and you die 24/7 over and over and over again, at least it will give you somewhat of a hint. If it says big ass fucking fire, in your screen every time you died, maybe your fire mitigation is your issue,
Yeah,
so
but
at least it will give a hint to it.
yeah, but Lily's right though. Like a visual indicator of it would be enormous because I'm still new enough that like I'm learning stuff still to this day. That's like I died to that. I don't even know what the fuck happened. Like I'll have to go back and like watch the video and being able to visually see what it is kills me means the next time when I visually see it on the screen I can avoid it as opposed to breaking the game down to like a spreadsheet. Like oh I need to have this many more stats. Like I don't think most people learning the game are going to do this. That's kind of why I'm glad in PoE 2 they're starting to add a lot more. I guess they are retroactively adding them in the PoE 1 too. They're adding like visuals on things. So you can actually see like skill gems, for instance, visuals, and then they have like a wiki in the game. I'm hoping they do the same thing when it comes to deaths or tags of stuff. So if you go and say like, okay, detonate det, for instance, and you can hover over it and it explains what it does, then it'd be cool if they had a video that popped up that shows the mechanic happening so you can pair what it looks like with the actual mechanic you're going to do with like a visual wiki within the game would go a long way, because we're gonna have people that are joining the game that are couch co-op players, like on console, never played PoE 1 probably. They're gonna play PoE 2 because it's free game and you can play it with your buddy on couch co-op. And because of that, having an easy way for those players to be able to visually mitigate issues they run into, I think would go a long way.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Another thing that I also doubt would happen, because this is kind of in depth, but so something a lot of people don't think about in PoE 1, like I think probably less than 1,000 people actually think about this, because the way the gameplay is, you just kind of blast through everything. But knowing what each monster actually does is actually huge. I mean, obviously it matters more in a hardcore perspective, but I feel like that's even more important than learning how to, like, maybe not more important than rounding off your character, but learning the actual mechanics of monsters is huge. Like Detonate Dead, for example, if you see that, you're going to have no idea what that is. And if you don't learn what it is, you don't learn the monster type that always has it, like not the rare modifier, but like Revenants or the some cultist dudes. If you don't learn they have it, you're going to die to it and not be ready for it every single time. So having some kind of like all this info about monsters in some menu in game, even I wouldn't mind if it was out of game. I don't really care if things are in or out of game. I don't mind opening a browser window. I know a lot of people do. But even in PoE 1, you go to the PoEDB page and it's kind of all over the place. It's like some data mined info, some of it's wrong. You can't really see their attacks. You can kind of see the attacks and there's some numbers. And I think a lot of them are probably wrong, but it exists. I'd like to see a fleshed out version of that in game so you can actually see what the monster does. And I think that's more in line with PoE 2 as well, as they want the combat to be like less everything on your screen and more you're actually interacting
Agreed.
with some specific groups of monsters.
That makes sense for the PoE2 new Spectre system as well. I like what you're saying as well. Now, PoEDB has been accurate up until this league. And the problem with PoEDB is that you have to like learn to decipher it. You can bring up a Spectre unit or something that's Spectrable, a mob, and then there's like Serpent Warriors, for example, and there's a list of like 15 abilities the fucker has. And then you have to decipher which one does what. Like if you look at Frost Auto Scouts, for example, they have an ability. I think it's, I'm going to look it up. I think the quote is literally do nothing. That's one of their abilities. And if you don't if you don't learn how to decipher it, you don't know what the hell that does. it says do literally nothing. That is
Sounds
the
like
ability
my builds,
that they
bro.
use. But it's the ability that they do when these are from heist, when they're standing still behind a door before the door's open. So they do nothing. They just stand there. That is the ability they're using to do that, and it's triggered by the doors opening. So you have to like learn to decipher the stuff. But the problem with this league is that when this league came out, the guy who runs PoEDB was on vacation, so the stuff didn't get updated. And GGG, I've talked to them about the whole idea when they introduce new monsters like the Affliction Corpses, for example, to give us accurate information on units or new minions and stuff. And Chris told me that they were going to make sure we get that in the future moving forward. And then they said Affliction Corpses are nerfed. No info. I begged and screamed for it. Still nothing. Then eventually, before the league came out, they said auras are nerfed. I'm like, okay. So they lowered we didn't know how much, but they said they lowered the auras. But they didn't just nerf the auras. There's so many units that have been lowered in damage out, but this applies to them in game if you face them as well. So not just from a Spectre point of view. So a lot of the monsters have actually been nerfed, and their abilities have been nerfed. Not just the auras, like the Hydra's Doom Arrow ability has a longer cooldown now. So now you can't even play with it. It's unplayable. Snap Out tried to set it up for their team, and it's just not doable. There's so many changes, and it's just we have to decipher the whole shit from PoEDB, which is now not working, but PUB is actually updated with it. and there's no info force. It's impossible. But it also means it goes back to what you were saying, Lily, with understanding their mechanics and understanding their abilities helps a lot when you're playing, which I think a lot more people would just get from, well, I guess just dying over and over to it till they learn that, oh, those goddamn spiders, the revenants, actually have this ability. And it's gonna take a while before they learn that. But I think that having that access in game would be amazing, and I hope they do that for PoE 2 with the way the new Spectre system will be.
Question: Spectres, PoE 2. That's going to be your first build, GHAZZY? Speaking of Spectres, because I know you're going minion build, but isn't there a specific build that you were willing to run for Spectres going into PoE 2? Because remember this conversation we had with Jonathan.
Well, Spectres are always going to be completely depending on what abilities monsters have that we go up against, right? So for Spectres to be a fun build to engage with, to focus on or doubling down on, there needs to be an attractive enough monster that we're fighting that can be spectrable, right? Like in PoE 1, they all suck till you get Wretch Defilers with Dorian's prototype, and the only ones that are brokenly good have been fixed, or they're from a different league mechanic like the Crucible, and they're broken. And
How come I always hear you talking about how dog shit minions are in literally every league? But then every time I see minions, they seem completely fucking busted at the same time. Like, I have no idea. It's like, minions suck. Spectres suck. This shit's dog shit. But then minions are like absolutely busted every time I see them. Like, what is happening?
Well, it's not really true, though. So, very rarely have minions been the best at something. It's been meta a couple of times over the past couple of years, but very rarely have they been the best at something. What they do the best is being great at everything. So you can have most minion builds are just fantastic all-rounders. You can do bosses, you can do clear pretty well, you can do everything. That's what makes them so good to play. But they're very rarely the best. I mean, look at the meta, like the LS Slayer, for example, or Lightning Strike in general. It's just way better, objectively speaking. But those minion builds can do bossing and clear, even if it's slightly worse across the board. You can still do all of that with almost no investments. And I think that's where they really shine. It depends on the minion build as well.
Okay. Fair enough answer.
I think so.
Alrighty, boys. Well, we covered Diablo 4. We covered PoE 1, PoE 2. You got any last things you want to talk about? Any topics you want to throw out here? Questions or anything like that? Lily, you got anything you want to talk about before we kind of wrap up?
I got one thing going back a little bit to Last Epoch.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you think about them ending the season like randomly before it's even been 2 months?
I saw that.
Their economy's fucked, right?
I think it's kind of weird. Yeah, it had the dupe again.
Yeah, I think with
I don't know.
I don't know. I have a take. I think it's that their game is so heavily scaled around the economy, and one of the whole factions around the economy too. So when the economy gets fucked with a dupe, it's a way bigger deal than like in Diablo 4. We don't even have an auction house. I mean, everything costs like 85 billion gold because gold doesn't mean anything, and when you can buy, you're just hunting for greater affixes. Gold. I mean, the items are way less of a big deal, right? But Last Epoch both has what the arena system, which is sort of the leaderboard, plus the economy, which is a huge part of the faction. A huge part of the faction. So when the economy gets fucked, it's actually like kind of a big deal, I would think. So they probably had to reset the economy because it got GG'd, I believe, twice in a row. So they had to do it again. And then honestly, it's probably a small percentage like, hey, we're doing a fresh reset, maybe come play again. I mean, there's probably a percentage of it too that might try to rejuvenate a little bit of life into it, if I had to guess. Now, what do you think?
I think that they're in a position, like you said, the tail end there, that they're in a position where maybe the active player base or concurrent players are very, very low. And as a way to spark some more interest to it, they'll reset it. I mean, I'm going to be honest, if I have nothing specific happening, I'm very likely going to play it. I actually like the very start of Last Epoch. I think it's fun to do. But yeah, I think that the biggest problem they had was the economy getting fucked over because the majority of the players are playing.
Well, and then so here's the other thing is if they launch a third season and the dupe happens again, it's GG for them. I would feel like, okay, you have 3 seasons in a row and they all 3 get fucked in a game where the economy matters with the dupe glitch. Like, people are going to start losing maybe a little bit of faith in if they can actually mitigate this. But if they reset it in the same season, be like, okay, we think we patched out, we got to fix. And then in the fresh economy, if another dupe comes out, they can sort of whack-a-mole that next issue down. Maybe they're trying to bait out another dupe exploit that they can maybe solve before they relaunch with a new league, cycle, whatever.
I mean, they had PoE had an issue with the scrying of the maps, and people printed multiple mirrors in one day, like consistently. And the way GGG handles it is that if it's clearly something that is abused, or like a bug or glitch is not intended and is being abused, they will get a slap on the wrist one way or another to make sure that currency doesn't enter the market, which I'm assuming at least some of it did. But at least the mitigation was there, and they've made a clear standpoint of that if you abuse these things, you're going to face some consequences for it. And I think that's maybe the play that Last Epoch needs to do. That if there's something like that is found, they need to make sure that those things are locked down quickly, fixed, and made sure that the results of it is minimized, right? And that didn't happen. I'm not sure if anyone got banned or anything, but there was so much gold that entered the market in circulation that like the damage was already done, right? So I'm not sure if it's GG if it happens again. I think it has more to do with the way they're not just how, but also how fast they're responding to a situation like that. That matters more than anything. What do you think, Lily?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also, I feel like dupes in PoE aren't as bad as in the other games because of how like robust the economy is. You have so many different things and so many different strategies that, let's say, first there's a dupe that makes divines insanely expensive, which has never really happened. Like, maybe at worst the divine's been like double the price of what it normally is, and I don't think that league was even due to a dupe. But say that happens, right? Now Sanctum's more profitable. It kind of counters it out and makes it less of an issue in other games, where in like Last Epoch, this gold gets duped, right? There's no balance to it. The thing you listed for 3 million yesterday is now 45 billion gold. You have nothing you can do about that. You just can't afford that anymore because you're not going to dupe to get that gold unless you want to get banned.
That's actually a really good point, because it's the same thing with D4, which is the main currency, and like the only currency is really gold to trade with. And so that's why things, when there's a dupe, immediately kind of goes crazy. Although people typically are duping stackable items like stones. It's a good point.
I think there's been one PoE league that got actually rolled back because it was so bad. This was a long time ago. I think there was one. This was before I played like super poop sock, play 20 hours a day, so I don't remember exactly, but I think there was one. Yeah, was it Bestiary? And then there was one league with like the Mirror Shards and Incursion or whatever, but that got snuffed out pretty quick, so I don't think it got rolled back or anything.
Speaking of dupes in the game, this is kind of random, but it reminded me of this. Okay, so my favorite game's RuneScape, right? I've been playing that. There's this one where they had an update, and the devs were testing something in RuneScape. So they had a spawn that spawned like the most expensive item as a Twisted Bow that they forgot to take out with the update. So there was a brief patch they had to roll back, in which literally there's just a generation spawn on the ground of the most expensive, like hardest to farm item in the game that just kept spawning over and over again. People are like, why is this item crashing overnight, pretty much? And they had to roll back the entire game.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just what we were talking about, right? That their way of handling the situation was like, oh, shit, this happened. We're going to have to roll it back, right?
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
I think that's the important part. Like how they handle it and how fast they handle has more to do with it. I feel like I said before, like similar to Torchlight, they need about a year's worth of content to get the year worth of time of progressing their content to get this state of the game becoming good. And I think that the deciding how to handle certain situations is part of their progression as a company during this time as well.
You know, you're kind of right though. The more I think about it, the more like the take about Last Epoch having like this protective bubble was actually pretty right. Because I'm thinking back to that video Riker made where he was talking about like what happened to Last Epoch. Because like there's not many people playing, and the data he was presenting was correct. Like there's not a lot of people that were currently playing. The retention was fairly low. But then everyone's like, well, you know, like, oh, this is a bad video. You just don't understand that, you know, ARPGs are cyclical and all that. People are fun. But it's like, yeah, but this one kind of fell off like pretty fast is more so the point about it. And you mentioned that, and there's a lot. There is something about Last Epoch. I don't know if I think it's the consumer friendliness, but there is something about Last Epoch where it's. I think people want the game to do well, or maybe people legitimately like it because D4 was like in a state during launch where it was like kind of bad, and then Last Epoch came around and kind of filled the void of kind of an intermediary in between, or they just have pretty good PR. Maybe people like Mike. I mean, people like Mike. He goes out there in the dev interviews a lot, is typically pretty friendly too, but
I think it might just be the like underdog POV. They're a smaller company, although they're not that small now. They have over 100 employees now. It's not like when they started they had like 10 or anything. So I think it's just mostly the underdog thing, and I think the game at its core is probably what most people want out of an ARPG, but it's not executed great right now. Like PoE is too much on the grind side for most people. Maybe Diablo games are too little on the grind side.
yeah.
Last Epoch's kind of right in the center, like perfect balance, but they're not executing it properly yet.
Pretty good way to put it. It feels accurate as well. Like
I'm worried the game will fall off because they don't develop fast enough, though.
Yeah.
It is like their timeline was like the Monolith update's going to be in like a year from now. I think that is way too far for Monoliths in the state they're in.
Well, and there's a lot of like stuff they're fighting against. We got PoE 2 in November. You got the D4 expansion, not exactly like that's going to take everyone from the other categories, but you know what I'm saying. Like we have a lot of updates coming. I believe it was in one of the chats. I think it was your chat. Was saying that Necropolis, someone came out. Necropolis came out right after 2, which ended up being a kind of bad timing. So maybe they've just been fighting an uphill battle too. Of like there's a significant amount of other content available. It's not necessarily it's a bad game. It's just kind of getting outshone and still progressing right now.
I think they just released because they're out of money. That's the only reason I would guess why they did a full release already. I don't think it was ready. I think they're just out of money.
Not sure about that and money. I mean, Tencent has invested similar to how Tencent bought up GGG.
I don't think they're a majority in Last Epoch, so, but maybe. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think the game was ready for launch. I think they did a lot of damage to themselves for launching in the state it was.
You think
if they could have prolonged it, I think they should have.
You think they should have dropped it with more Monolith, like in-game, as opposed to just kind of the in-game state it was in? Or what do you think the biggest
just, like,
issue?
How buggy it is, and a lot of people don't like how monoliths are. I think if they, I mean, easier said than done, but I think if it wasn't like so buggy, like, I think it was on launch, I think it was honestly near Wolcen tier if you disregard how online wasn't with Wolcen.
Okay.
I think it was pretty bad. I think people overhype how bad Wolcen was.
I never played that one.
Online not working.
Okay, so I'm going back in. It's bad. So is it bad enough where it's like you should play it to see how bad it was, or it's bad enough where it's like don't do it to yourself?
Wolcen's actually not too bad right now. I mean,
really?
It just shut down because whatever. But last time I played it, I try and play it once a year. It's not that bad. At launch, it definitely was that bad, mostly because online just didn't work. But I think it's not that bad now. See, Last Epoch, here's the thing about Last Epoch too. Half the passives didn't work on launch. When Wolcen released, half the passives didn't work on launch. I think it's very close actually, but Last Epoch has this underdog veil around it.
I don't know. I mean, I played a lot of Last Epoch on the patches they had before the release. Now, when it comes to Volson, I consider Volson so bad that I don't like to call it a game because that would be
Oh
disrespectful to every
no.
other game on the planet. Like that's my opinion
Oh
on it. Like I really,
no.
really hated my experience of Volson. It was the
I
most
think you should try it
painful
again.
waste of time. Didn't it shut down?
Yeah, just the online though. You can play offline.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should because I don't know how it is nowadays. Whereas Last Epoch, I've been there since they were in Kickstarter Alpha, and I've seen the progression, and I feel like every time they've done their bigger updates, it's just gotten so much better consistently. And as like you mentioned, I feel like everyone else is saying as well, the game fits so perfectly between PoE and D4 that I think the majority of the people really want the game to be fantastic because it really fits it's like the perfect balance of a mixture of the two games, right? In terms of complexity and time required and all those things to it. I just love that approach to it. But I feel like their position of being in the middle on the spectrum is the main reason they have this veil of being forgiven, I guess, for certain things. But I don't think, and I don't agree that the game was as bad as the thing we refer to as Volson.
I mean specifically the bugs. Not
Mm,
like overall, of course. Definitely not anywhere close overall. I just mean
no.
specifically how buggy it is / was.
Can you give me some examples? Because I know there was like the energy shield like thing it had in the game, right? I think it was Ward in the game. It had like a bug related to it, right? But like I didn't actually run into. Well, that's not true. The server launch issues, if we're counting that as bug, were like pretty bad. On the server launch connection issues were pretty massive. But what kind of issues were you running into?
Just like I'm playing a build, and then 3 days later, I see a patch note that's like, yeah, actually these 3 nodes weren't working, and then that happened a lot. There's a lot of nodes that didn't work. There was a lot of like pathing issues. There's a lot of invisible ground or walls that would appear. I think they fixed that mostly. In some of the dungeons, it still is definitely a thing, and you just get stuck so often.
I did run into that actually. Now that you mention it.
In the temporal sanctum, um, I'm not sure if this was fixed, but there was this thing where I'm really scared to run that on multiplayer because you press the button and you don't actually flip to the other side pretty often.
Never
Just
experienced
stuff
that.
like
I ran a
that.
lot of temporals. Maybe I got lucky then.
It might be fixed now. Like weird infinite scaling bugs, like how the Falconer was on launch. Wolfson had something similar where the main build was
The
being
blade
scaled by
thingy.
something infinitely scaling. It was like bleeding edge
Yeah.
block. In offline mode, there's this weird bug that's existed for years, which I feel like is a pretty huge bug to actually patch. Like it's literally game breaking. Where there's this one zone in the void area. It's like level 13 zone or so. If you go in there and you don't shut your game off, you're immortal forever. You can never die. Your HP will go to 0 and you won't die. Like just forever. It's only in offline mode though. And you're just immortal forever.
Okay. That sounds fun.
There's a lot of stuff like that actually. I think it's crazy to me that's existed for years and hasn't been fixed.
Yeah. I don't think I remember some bugs with Last Epoch, but I don't remember it being as buggy as Volson was or is.
It could,
But
I
it's
mean, maybe
like
it's not Wilson tier and it's just been a long time,
um,
but it's pretty buggy.
And now I
well,
want to
I
play
remember
Wilson because I keep hearing how dog shit this game is. It was like Grim Dawn. I just tried Grim Dawn because everyone's like, you gotta play Grim Dawn. But yeah, I never see anyone playing Grim Dawn. So I played Grim Dawn, and Grim Dawn's actually fire. Like, really, really
it's
good.
a good game. That's the difference.
Surprisingly good.
Yeah, the only problem I have with Grim Dawn is that I'm not a big fan of the replayability that they have. if Grim Dawn had seasonal content, I think a lot of us would stream that on season launches. The
They
game's
have a
fantastic.
community season thing they do
Yeah,
with
they
the
do.
mod.
Yeah. They don't have
I don't know how extensive that is though.
I don't know either, but like that actually is a pretty cool system. I've been hearing about that as well. But it's like if they officially made seasonal content, I think they would fucking explode. Like it is such a good game, really is. But Volson, I would never call a good game. So
I think you should. I don't think you'll. Well, maybe you'll hate it with the bias of how it launched, but
maybe
if you don't have a thought of this already, DM, because you didn't play it, I think you won't hate the game. I don't think you'll hate it.
Okay.
Just remember to shut the game off in a level 13 zone.
I'll give it a try just because it's on the list of like there's ARPGs I haven't played. I went back and looked at Titan Quest 1 because it keeps showing up like as a recommended on the PlayStation Store for me. It's like, okay, this is one I haven't played yet either. And then Titan Quest 2 is coming out, so it's like, all right, I should probably get the Understanding 1 to 2. But from what I get, the people that made the first one didn't make the second one. I looked at the second one, and honestly, it looks mid, like at best for me. I was looking at the gameplay of Titan Quest 2, and I don't know if you guys care at all about Titan Quest, but it's hard for me to have any hype at all from looking at the gameplay.
I barely played Titan Quest 1. It was too like sparse and slow for me. I mean, I know people are always like, yeah, there's an option you can actually put the game to triple speed, but I feel like that's kind of a weird solution. I'm curious how Titan Quest 2 will be though, if it's true to how Titan Quest 1 is, or if they try and modernize it, or if it's just like reusing the name for publicity or whatever.
It looked like a game
like Diablo.
Ooh. I mean, that's a sequel, I guess. But Titan Quest 2. I looked at the graphics, dude, and it looks like a game that was released 10 years ago. I'm normally not the guy that's a graphics Andy. I mean, look, I played Maple Story, I played RuneScape still, I'm playing right now. But like, for an ARPG, I feel like you kind of have to have. That's like you're saying with Torchlight. Like a lot of people probably aren't going to try Torchlight just because it's, it looks like a cartoon game, like a mobile game, right? So it's probably a lot harder for people to want to play. I look at Titan Quest 2 and it's like, if this is releasing and this is supposed to be competition for like PoE 2, a game that's free and cross-platforms, like why would I ever play this one? I don't understand why I would play. Like, what is there about Titan Quest that has something that would make me want to log in? I don't know. I didn't see it in any of the gameplay.
Did you guys ever try Torchlight 3?
No, I heard it was
That was the worst game I've ever played. Across all genres, I think that was the worst game I've ever played. It's worse than Wolfson. I really hate that game.
Jesus.
Good.
Okay, I was like, no, I thought I had heard that Torchlight was pretty good before Infinite. So I was thinking, that must be pretty good.
2 and 1 are. 2 and 1 are.
Yeah,
not 3.
2 and 1 are fantastic.
3 is something.
3 was designed to be your introductory ARPG game for children, to learn what an ARPG game is and experience that and be as friendly as possible. We're talking about it's made for the kids that play Fortnite, and not the streamers that somehow, not that kind of age. We're talking about the age group like 10 to 12-year-olds. Like that's what the game was designed for. It's so bad.
I used to play Fortnite, and then I went to the fair one day, and I'm in line to get a snow cone or whatever those things are. And I look down, and there's a kid, I don't know how old, barely able to walk, and he's wearing like a Fortnite hoodie. And I realized this is the demographic that I'm playing with, and I never logged back into Fortnite again.
Fortnite won a lot because of the popularity of like BRs. Like PUBG was one of the best games ever. Holy fuck, it was so good, right? It's still on the top of the Steam charts, I think, but like 3 million peak players, some crazy shit, right? And then it just died off, right? And nothing's really come up to that. And I think Fortnite was like the game that really took that place and was good for the children that was just watching PUBG stuff on YouTube Reels, I guess. That's how it feels like.
I've never really played Fortnite, but I think it's actually a good game. I think it's probably the best battle royale. Maybe competing with Apex or something. I think it's pretty good.
It is good. I mean, it dominated for a while because it was good. My problem with it is I liked it up until it was no longer about aiming, and it was about who's the better Bob the Builder. So let me see a guy and like, can I hit him in the head with my sniper rifle? And the answer is no, because he already has a 3-car garage mansion built, and then he's shooting down on me with a rocket launcher. And I was like, okay, this game is dog shit for me. And then they made no build, which immediately revived the game a little bit for people that were actual normal players, not these like schizo, let me build this huge fucking tower thing. It was, in my opinion, it was unwatchable and unplayable when everyone's just building shit everywhere. But apparently the building's why people said it had depth and all that. But I just fundamentally hated it.
Yeah. No, I never actually played it because of the build mode. It's like I said, you take aim, you see a guy, you're about to shoot him. Half a second later, the dude's like 50 stories up sniping you or something. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And people were insane at that shit. But the no build mode came out, and that's the only time I was interested in giving it a try, but I never got around to it. But I've heard that it's supposed to be really good, though.
Ironically, I think Fortnite is maybe what, or maybe this is a bad analogy, but kind of similar. I think Fortnite is to boomer shooters what PoE is to D2. I feel like it's the true, like, adaption / next generation, because basically really mechanical games that are extremely punishing if you don't know the mechanics kind of fizzled out and don't exist anymore. Nobody plays RTSs, nobody plays boomer shooters like Quake or whatever. There's like one Quake sort of game that tries to launch, I think it's tried to launch twice now and it flopped both times. I feel like it's the only truly like insanely mechanical game.
That's
that
a good.
is
That's a
pretty big
good
now.
take. I feel like the mechanics went from like, okay, so Unreal Tournament and Quake, these are ones I'm familiar with. Like it went from like schizo level aiming and shooting to now it's movement based. So it's about everything other than the aiming, and the aimers are all playing games like CS:GO. So it's like, who can shoot better? Okay, go play CS:GO. Who can do everything else other than aim at the head? Go play, the games that are like Black Ops now, where you're literally like Supermaning and then scooting under, doing a 360. It's like, dude, we aren't playing the same game anymore. Like, this is where I'm playing DDR or whatever's that fucking OSU game where I'm clicking all over the screen. It's like, those are the people that are kicking my ass now. It's no longer the dude where I'm like, oh God, he can aim and hit me in the head. It's these dudes that are, been doing maxed out Dance Dance Revolution in the arcade for 10 years and now suddenly are kicking my ass every time in the shooters.
Yeah, I was about to mention that, the whole COD thing or whatever is the Black Ops. Where I've seen the kids doing, what do they call it? Omni movement or something? It's like, just flying, doing 360s, backflip splits. You fucking name it. With perfect accuracy while sniping at the same time. I don't know, man.
I think a lot of the movement in COD is like a meme. I think a lot of people do it for show. Like they're like throwing their mouse across the room and flipping everywhere, and like, I don't think you would need to do that. It's kind of like how 360 no scope montages were big back in the day.
True.
It's kind of like that, but it just went off the rails, and now they're just throwing their, I guess that's mostly console. They're just throwing their controller across the room.
The finals was pretty good. I thought the finals was like actually pretty decent. I know they had the huge like hacking issue right at basically the launch of the game, but I don't know if you guys played the finals at all. That one was a pretty decent shooter for a while.
No, I never did. What was that game Shroud was making?
Oh yeah, he was making a shooter, wasn't he?
I was talking to him the other day about it. Spectre Divide or whatever, wasn't it?
I think it's Spectre something. Pretty sure
Spectre Divide.
Yeah, I think you know that.
It looked like Valorant, except you have 2 characters you control or something.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Valorant was never one I could get into.
I tried, but
same.
I didn't like the character design in Valorant. I didn't think it was interesting. I couldn't choose a character I really liked.
I do miss the good old days where I would get home from work and the first thing I would do is boot up Warcraft 3 to not play the RTS, but to play the arcade custom games. That's why I've been stuck on, like, I tried the StarCraft 1, didn't like it. The Warcraft 3 fucked everything over with Reforged. So you have to sign over your ownership.
Oof.
You have to sign over your ownership because they didn't want to have another Dota happening without them making money out of it. So it was funny because I spoke to Pox. He's a big Warcraft guy, and I said, you know what? When Reforged comes out, let's do a collab streams and just go fucking ham. Just go beat out a bunch of arcade games together. And then it came out, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is bad." Like, very few of the custom games got updated into Reforged because they would have to sign over the ownership of the map to the company. I'm like, that's insane. So none of the good maps actually made it in. So now I'm trying some arcade games in Dota 2, which is like the best platform you have available at the moment for those type of games. And there are some really good ones like Tower Defense, good old Angel Arena and Footman Frenzy and stuff like that. Absolutely insane.
I kind of
StarCraft.
miss that era of gaming, which was like largely community based. Like custom game stuff, I feel like that doesn't really exist anymore. Everything's been like esportsified. I feel like as much as I love competitive aspect of games, to be honest, but I feel like all the casual things are kind of dead. I mean, you could still find them if you seek them out, but like old Counter-Strike servers with like the Warcraft mod and whatever, custom games and StarCraft and Warcraft, stuff like that, I feel like doesn't really exist nearly as much. It's all like, all right, load into matchmaking for your skill-based matchmaking. Here you go.
And a lot of those custom games got turned into genres, right? I mean, I guess that's how we started with Dota.
PUBG as well from was it Armageddon? I think Arma 3, I think.
Yeah.
And that's how PUBG came out, and then suddenly we had this previous custom game turned into this BR genre.
Or
And we had Fortnite
DayZ.
spawn.
Didn't DayZ kind of start genre? Because you had the whole like zombie open world shooter collector type of genre that I think that, I could be wrong about my history, but I thought DayZ was an armor mod that originally became a standalone game that kind of started that one, because I played DayZ back in the day.
It's the one game I would love to play, but I'm terrified of playing. Because it's like this whole survival kind of approach to it. I feel like if I start playing it, I wouldn't be able to stop. I would just be there countless of hours every day. I love those games, but they're terrifying. Way worse than MMO games.
It's fun, but it has like the issue that hardcore faux loot MMOs has, which is that the community cannibalizes its own player base because the people that have been playing it so long become so good that the new blood coming into it like kind of can't really get too much of a foothold unless you have a server wipe or something like that. And even then, the skill and knowledge gap's pretty insane. I mean, imagine if PoE was like a faux loot PvP game. So you just go into a map. Oh, there's another new player. Let me take his 2 chaos. Like, you would bleed out players. Like, that's kind of the same
Cutthroat
issue.
League, man.
Wait, was that thing? Oh, no, don't troll me.
No, they had these short instances of races and whatnot. And there was a Cutthroat League where you could zone into other players' areas. So you would go as a summoner into prison, bam SRSs. A dude comes in. Before he reaches the goddamn waypoint, he's just surrounded with minions killing him. You take his shit to do the same thing to the next person.
Jesus.
Those are good times. So that has happened in PoE, but yeah, I see your point. I mean, it's the same thing. Like there was this really good game that I think is amazing. Even the PvE is hilariously fun, and that is Sea of Thieves. The problem is, I went to some streamers that were playing it just to check out the game with the new stuff. It's like they have some sort of like fifth sense fucking aimbot on their shots. Like they don't miss a shot ever. Like if I go in and play that game, I would get destroyed. You ever played Sea of Thieves?
Me or Lily?
Oh, both of you.
Yeah, a little bit
Played
casual.
it with you once.
Right, we did. That's a long time ago. Jesus.
Yeah.
Did you ever try it?
I really like Sea of Thieves, but I wish it had more of a progression system. That's what holds me from playing it.
Yeah.
I played it,
Well, that
but
makes sense.
I sucked at it, and then the amount of grind that you would have to do to get the chest and everything felt like too long, considering it was kind of a casual fun game, but I didn't want to do the grind. So I just I played it until I got bored of what it had to offer, and then I kind of moved on. I felt like it was something more fun to watch than play. Like it was almost a sandbox for content creation. Is what it felt like to me.
Kind of what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it made good clips, good videos.
Loading a cat into a cannon. But
I need something to like grind in games, but I can't play it.
No. How long ago was it that we played? I don't even remember that. Now that you mention it, I do remember it when we did it, but Jesus Christ. Must have been like
Multiple years ago.
I mean, we must talk 3 or 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, had to be
Jesus.
at least 3 or 4 years.
How do you have such good memory? Holy shit. What do you eat? What's your diet? God damn it. I don't even remember what I ate 3 days ago.
Beef.
Jesus Christ. Beef?
It was June 2021.
So almost exactly 3
Has
years
the
ago.
receipts, dude.
Jesus.
Did you ever play the Pirates of the Caribbean MMO? Like, probably 20 years ago at this
Dude,
point?
they had an MMO?
What? Yeah, it was sweet.
Dude, the only pirate
never heard
MMO
of
I
it.
played was, remember Puzzle Pirates? Like, forever ago? I don't know if you played that one. I played Puzzle Pirates way back in the day, and that one was actually kind of fire.
Huh.
I have to look up Pirates of the Caribbean MMO.
Never even heard of it. Jesus.
Yeah, you get different ships and stuff, and you'd have to upgrade your ship. And then you can PvP other players, and you actually had like other players on your ship. And you like fire the cannons. There's different cannonballs you used. I mean, it was kind of like a bad version of Sea of Thieves, I guess, in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This does seem kind of... This is a game, all right. It's one of the games of all time.
I gotta Google
No, it's something, dude. It's a game.
I don't remember if it was actually good because I was a kid, but I liked it.
I thought I had played.
it looks like it came out 20 years ago. Sorry, I take that back. It looks like it came out 30 years ago.
30. No, 20's fair. Surely 20 would have been 2004. I kind of miss MMOs.
You're a little bit older.
It's like the MMO is the genre that I miss the most. That I wish would have a resurgence. My copamine is me saying that MMOs aren't dead and that they will have a resurgence, and out of nowhere is going to be a nice big MMO that takes the world by storm, and we will all play it and get addicted again, and the world will be happy. But I think I'm lost in copamine, to be honest.
Well, it's not the right one.
No shit. Oh, I let myself get hyped for that for like 10 minutes. And then, of course...
Well, I mean, just be hyped for 10 years from now when they scrap it again.
God damn it. See, this is the issue with all of these games. Like, every MMO becomes a Star Citizen where it's like, don't worry, this is actually going to be the most exciting game of all time.
At least really bad games taking really bad decisions are shutting down Concord.
Oh, yeah, September 6th. That shit's over, dude. All 20 players is getting a refund.
20? Don't be generous.
You had to realize that their entire dev team was playing the game too every day, is what they said. So those numbers, when it says there's like 60 players online, are boosted by like 30% of them are the actual designers of the game are playing the game.
I mean, they made the game for them, not for anyone else.
When you look at the players and realize that on average it's $3 million per active player.
If you want to feel rich, boys, play it.
What actually was so bad about that game?
Oh, you want to know? You want to know, Lily? All right, I got you. Don't worry.
I don't know. It was actually bad.
I'm gonna.
First time I heard about it was when it's dead.
Don't you worry. I'm gonna pull up the characters here, and I'm gonna put in the Discord chat an image of the characters. Here's what the characters actually end up looking like. Okay. So first of all, here's one. All right, check the Discord. There's one. And then, okay, so you get to play as someone with a Tupperware on their head. That's fun.
You're a space janitor.
Hell yeah. And then
Oh,
this character back there is an actual vacuum cleaner. So you have
Okay, that's kind of sick though. That's kind of sick.
a giant orange shop vac is that's probably one of the better characters in the game, to be honest. The other one's just a blue guy with a red head.
My favorite character in Torchlight 3 was a washing machine.
Oh. Torchlight 3 washing machine? Why do I not know this?
Okay, well, it wasn't actually a washing machine, but it kind of looked like one.
I know which one you're talking about, but you're pretty accurate on that.
Yeah, and it's like the little robot guy is kind of like a washing machine.
I mean, like, this is the very definition. I'm all for inclusivity, but this is what happens when a game company, goes with the saying, if you go woke, you go broke. That's basically what happened to Concord.
That, and they made a game 8 years after. Okay, so 8 years later than the popularity of Overwatch, right? So Overwatch comes out, they make a game. The game takes 8 years to come out, is a worse version of the game that they copied, and they charged money for it when the other game was free. It's a massive failure to understand what people actually want in the game.
Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot to it.
Full refunds, though. So congratulations. All right.
It's got to be like one of the biggest fails ever, isn't it?
I think is it the largest flop of all time?
It must be.
Is $200 million. $200 million in 8 years of development is my understanding.
It was 200 million?
That's my understanding. That's what I was told. Let me see. Concord budget. Okay, some say
How many people got fired after that?
Forbes are arguing that it's a 100 million estimate. Is what Forbes says. I was told 200 million. So who knows? Could be exaggerated. Forbes is estimating 100 million.
A lot of fucking money.
They just needed another 100. They could have pulled it off.
It's starting to sound like Ashes of Creation here.
Or Star Citizen.
Oh, we just need more money. Oh, that's 100 million without marketing? Okay. I mean, how much did they pay all the white knights running around on social media protecting them when they got criticized? And they are nowhere to be seen now that it's shit. I mean, look at any social media post on Concord. There's not a single one I've seen that's defending them anymore. But before, with all the criticism that they were receiving, there were tons of oh, this is such a good game. I can't wait to play it. No one is saying that now that it's launched.
Because no one's played it. They can't say it's a game. They didn't play it. Force Gaming's recent tweet. Guys, I've been told Concord's actually a very good game, but you're all just assholes. Correct. I love Force. This shit's funny. All right. Well, with that wonderful segue into unlucky flops of games, I'm going to recommend one game for you guys here on the way out the door. You ready? Core Keeper. You should play Core Keeper. Game's actually fun.
That was the game you streamed the other day?
Yeah, I took 2 days just to play that. It's a 1 to 8 person co-op game, kind of a mix of Terraria and Stardew Valley. Bosses, monsters, cool, pixelation style of graphics. I don't know, really enjoyable. Great soundtrack too. It's a chill game that then goes really intense for the bosses and then goes back to being chill. Pretty good game.
I'm not a big fan of the graphics of it. Feels too Minecrafty. And I know Minecraft's a good game. Don't hate me for saying this, but it feels like Minecraft is for children. It's like you said with your experience with Fortnite. Like it caters to a very young player.
GHAZZY, aren't you level 491 on Tibia?
There's no way that game is catering to a young audience.
You said you didn't like the graphics of it. I'm challenging that assertion.
Well, I said I don't like the graphic because it reminds me of the Minecraft approach to it. Tibia does not remind me of Minecraft.
All right. That's a take. I'll take it as a take.
You take it as a take.
Wait. I think I've seen you play RimWorld before. That game looks like it was drawn by a 2-year-old with crayons.
Okay, but RimWorld is as far away from
Okay,
a
yeah,
child
I
demographic
know,
game as you
but-
can get. And it does not remind me of Minecraft. I mean, last time I played Minecraft, I had my fucking dudes amputate the arms and legs of all my prisoners so they couldn't escape. I mean, and then I carved out their hearts. So it's not for children.
RimWorld's pretty good,
It looks
actually.
like it is though.
Looks like it is.
That's a banger of a game. I'll be honest, that's a banger.
I'll take that as a take.
All right, give
But
me.
yes, it is a banger.
All right, each of you give me a recommendation for a game before we wrap up the stream here. Give me, what should I play next? If you have one recommendation, you got to throw out to either the people listening or myself.
I already did Volson.
All right, Wilson. I'll take Wilson. All right, GHAZZY, it's on you.
Dodo TD arcade game in Dota 2.
There it is. Check your PayPal. All right. DS Lily, thank you for being on today. Appreciate you carving out a total of 2 hours for the chat today. The VOD will be posted on GHAZZY TV's YouTube channel in case you missed it. And shout out to DS Lily for being on today. And anything you guys want to do on the way out the door here? Nope. Sounds like it. Okay.
No.
Nope.
There we go. Nope. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming on by. Appreciate you stopping on by. And we'll see you on the next Tavern Talk podcast, whatever that may be. I'm sure GHAZZY will announce it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.